I'd like to start to show you a few video clips, so please take a look. As you can see here, there's clearly something wrong with these children. Their mobility is not right. As you can see, they are walking with a limp, and it looks like they are in pain. These children have Sever disease, and they are not alone. So what is Sever disease? It is a painful condition in the heel bone around the growth plate. When the child's growth curve increases, the epiphysis due to hormonal change become more weak. And for a very active child, there's a high demand of stress to the bone. It sets off inflammation, which ultimately causes pain. And that's the condition defined as Sever disease. Sever disease is more prevalent in children who are active in sports. But how prevalent? In fact, very few studies have looked into the prevalence of Sever disease. This is what we might call an under-researched condition. But the most recent, and in my opinion, interesting study was done in Denmark. It's known as the SVENDBORG study. And one of the conclusions to this study was that 6% of all children in this age group will be affected by Sever disease at some stage for a short or longer period of time. And that's a lot of children. If we bring that up to national level, it's 35,000 children in Denmark alone. During the past 10 years, I noticed that more and more children consulted my clinic with the same complaint, ongoing heel pain, and they had no idea why. Among this particular group of children, I also began to notice a certain clinical pattern, which did not quite match what previous studies into Sever disease concluded. I realized that this was a unique opportunity to gather more information about these children and their physical challenges, and in this way, get a better understanding of Severs and how to treat it more effectively. So I set to work. The aim of my own private study was to map the pain and behavior characteristics in children diagnosed with Sever disease and study the effect of specialized physio intervention, included interview, information about this condition, and as treatment, a special customized insole that reduce the impact against the growth plate. So, what did I find? 372 out of 469 children were either forced to interrupt their training or stop their sports entirely due to Sever disease. In my experience, children and parents react to the heel pain in different ways. Some children stop all activity as soon as the pain occurs. Others refuse to take a break, and both reactions are obviously problematic. Secondly, Sever disease is most commonly represented in boys who play football, and I think there are two reasons for this. Firstly, boys have a steeper growth curve than girls, and secondly, significantly more plastic courts have been built in the recent years, and football boots have no shock absorption at all. Third, the children had on average a heel pain for 10 months when the intervention took place. The long duration is explained primarily by the fact that the growth zone is open for several years. And finally, Severs typically starts at the age of 9 and 10. At this age, the child has a high level of activity, both at play and in organized sports, where the older children are more passive when they are not into sports. They are busy about, computers and iPads. So based on these findings, what can we as clinical practitioners do to help the children? For the first, diagnose. If the child with heel pain consult your clinic, the first thing I think you should do is to test for Sever's disease, because differential diagnosis of Sever's disease almost doesn't exist. And the diagnosis of Sever's is clinical and it's very simple to perform. Inform and reassure. Give the child and the parents the insight they need to tackle the condition, and inform that it is okay to allow a certain degree of pain. Motivate. Encourage the child to stay active. From a physical and social perspective, these are very formative years. I have seen many children with Sever's disease for 2, 3, even 4 years, where the pain leads to drop out of the sport they love. And secondly, provide treatment. There are different approaches out there, but in my experience, the most effective one is customized insoles, which reduce impact on the heel, so the child can stay active while the heel is resting. Okay, I hope this presentation has given you an introduction to an overlooked disease among children and provided you with a few tips on how to treat Sever's disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Per. Just a short question from me, and we know nowadays that patients with Höstmöte, they carry the symptoms for a much longer time than we thought before.
Yes.
Is it the same thing with Sever's disease, or is it always self-limiting?
Yes, I heard that new studies can prove that the adults also can bring this vitamin into the adult life. But among children with Sever's disease, I have never seen one by now that brings this the Sever's or the heel pain to the adult life. And I think there is an explanation for that, because the knee is a bit more complicated point than the heel bone. There are a high stress from the impact on the heel, and there's subtraction from the Achilles. But I think that the slatter knee, perhaps the inflammation and the deformation of the bone can bring problems into the adult life, and this is not the same matter. There can be something about the what do we call that? The Hackman's corner, but I don't think that has anything to do with the Sever disease.
A separate entity.
Yeah,
that's good news. Thank you very much, Per.